With Khamzat Chimaev getting a win over Robert Whittaker, a lot of UFC fans really want to see him jump the line in front of Sean Strickland, although it wasn't exactly like... I never believed that Sean Strickland was completely 100% deserving of a title shot, but Dana White was interested in the fight. Dricus was apparently interested in the fight, and Sean Strickland said that the UFC was actually looking to book that in February. Well, now we have a brand new clip from Dricus du Plessis in an interview talking about how he would actually like to fight Khamzat Chimaev. So that might be the next fight that we see. We're going to take a look at that clip. We're going to take a look at the Explore page over on X to see what people are kind of to get a gauge on how people are feeling about this in general. And as always, guys, I would love to know what you think about it down below afterwards. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels. Guys, let me bring you over to championship rounds. This is the actual clip of Dricus du Plessis. He says he believes Khamzat Chimaev should get the next title shot over Sean Strickland. Let's watch this together.
As a fan of the sport and as the middleweight champion of the world, that's a fight that gets me more excited. You know, taking somebody's I've beaten Strickland before, and I know I'll beat him again. So, getting that Khamzat fight, that gets me excited. I think
now, it's important to note, like, I don't think he's just ducking Sean Strickland. I think at this point, with all the guys that du Plessis has fought, he's not scared of anybody, especially since he's had interest in moving up a Division 2. I don't think he's ducking Sean Strickland at all, although we'll touch on how close that fight was in just a second.
The fans wants to see it. The fans are ultimately paid to watch the fights. So the fight the world thinks is the best next fight, that's what I want. So, yeah, I think the Khamzat fight is 100% what I want.
It's what he wants, and to note about what the fans would actually like to see, the fans would absolutely like to see du Plessis versus Chimaev next. It's a fresh matchup. Everybody's on the Chimaev train. He just dominated Robert Whittaker, and it was an incredible performance. Of course we would like to see it. And people are now hating on Sean's style a little bit more because people don't really believe him anymore. Like, we're going to go to war for you guys. And then he's just going to jab and teep. And, like, you win the fight however you want. I'm just saying, like, people are getting less excited about Sean Strickland in general.
Now, the UFC is going to do what they're going to do. But, you know, from a fan perspective and from a fighter's perspective, I think Khamzat should get the next shot.
Now, to be honest with you, I don't think that he said anything wrong there whatsoever. I like the idea that he's willing to take on a arguably tougher challenge. And before we get into this, I want to talk about what I thought about the first fight, because du Plessis did say he beat him once and he would beat him again. Obviously, there's a lot of controversy on that fight. I have rewatched the fight in recent times. I want to say like maybe about a month ago. I don't recall when exactly I rewatched the fight, but the first time that I watched Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis, it was one of those fights where it ended and I go, I don't know, that could have gone either way. There were a few really close rounds, and I was watching the fight intently. I just thought it was a very, very close fight. Upon rewatching the bout, I did believe that Sean Strickland actually did get the win there. So it makes sense for a fight to be ran back, especially when Sean Strickland already being a champion, du Plessis taking the belt away from him in such a closely contested fight. And you have that, which I'm not going to really express. Sean spoke about where the fight took place, and that is absolutely something the fight the place where they took that fight, they would do what Sean Strickland was crying about them doing. So there is a time and place that I do believe this fight eventually needs to be run back. However, I still thought that Robert Whittaker was way more deserving with what he accomplished compared to what Sean Strickland did. And Sean Strickland's just sitting back, yelling at, posting stuff like, I'm accepting nothing but a title shot, acting all entitled. It wasn't a split decision, but in the actual, in his actual ranks, there was a split decision win over Paulo Costa. We all know that wasn't a split decision. Sean Strickland did what he does and beat Paulo Costa. But a win over Paulo Costa also does not equate to anything that we've seen Khamzat Chimaev run through people at. Yeah, you know what? The name value could be better. I understand that. But it's a fresh matchup, and Khamzat Chimaev just dominated the greatest test in the middleweight division, that being Robert Whittaker. I think that absolutely deserves him a title fight next, because who else is there to fight for Khamzat Chimaev? He absolutely should be getting over Sean Strickland, and at the very least, I believe Sean and Khamzat should fight each other to see who gets to fight Dricus du Plessis next. If Sean wants to keep sitting out, sure, he can get the title shot after Khamzat Chimaev is done. After that, though, I would like to see even maybe a rematch between Sean and Israel Adesanya, maybe, but that's a fight that I'm like, you know what, that's okay. Maybe another fight with Sean Strickland and Nasruddin Imavov. He needs to get another win in order, in my opinion, to get the title fight, because beating Paulo Costa isn't really anything to write home about and just sit down and say that I deserve a title shot and I'm not going to take anything else. And to be honest with you, if I was the UFC, if anybody ever had that attitude, I would probably go against them if like it was questionable whether or not they deserve a title fight, because like honestly, who are you to be saying that stuff? But it's not just about what I think over here, guys. Let's take a look at the Explore page and some replies to get a gauge on how the MMA community is feeling about this. And I'd love for any regular viewers here to give me some constructive criticism over here on the channel. This is another like display that I have for tweets and stuff. I could move my camera over to the other side. Usually I do this when I share the tweets, but I'm going to try it over here and let me know what you think about it, because I'm always trying to make the viewer experience the best it could possibly be for you guys. Anyways, Tony Two Studs had this to say. He also said Whittaker deserves it more than Strickland. He doesn't want to fight Strickland again, and he's overconfident in his grappling. This is tough because I don't know if he's necessarily overconfident in his grappling, but I guess when comparing it to Khamzat Chimaev, everybody might be. Whittaker absolutely did deserve it more than Strickland, though. I don't think that he's scared of Sean Strickland. I don't. With the opponents that he's taken on before, I don't think that Sean Strickland exactly brings any sort of, like, incredible danger element to the fact where you might want to be ducking somebody, okay? So, Whittaker did deserve the fight. Khamzat beat the guy who deserved it. He now deserves it, okay? The Combat Sports Matrixer had this to say. I agree, Khamzat's win over Whittaker is much more impressive than Sean's performance versus Costa. Costa hasn't even had a significant win in years, and we've already seen Dricus du Plessis fight against Sean only this year. Let Khamzat get his title shot, and then the champ can defend versus Sean. I like this a lot. I think that's incredibly fair. I think it's a good way to look at things. No problems, absolutely there. Hermes had this to say. Great to see he's not ducking and actually up for the challenge. Real champ. And that's important to note too. If you were to duck anybody, you would be ducking Khamzat Chimaev. You'd be ducking the guy that has been steamrolling everybody and hasn't even had a close fight. Well, I mean, like Gilbert Burns won, but still, the guy is likely to drag you through a very, very tough fight, as opposed to somebody who's going to walk forward. And I don't mean to be disrespectful, truthfully, but he does have pillow hands for the UFC, and he doesn't exactly drag people through wars. So if you're going to duck somebody, Khamzat Chimaev would be the guy that you'd want to duck, okay? Let's continue on to another reply. That's the fight to make. Let Izzy and Sean rematch each other. Winner of that gets the winner of Khamzat versus DDP for the belt. Again, very, very fair take. And there was a reply over here that my camera is blocking over here. How many rematches will you give Israel getting that belt back? I don't know. Well, maybe the conversation for Adesanya to get back to titles for another time, okay? Let's take a look at another reply. Alex Pereira would choose the guy he already beat over a hungry new contender. This is why, as a Khamzat fan, I have the utmost respect for DDP as champ. He's a real one. That's true. I love the way that Dricus is carrying himself as a champion right now. I love the idea that he wants to be fairly active. I like the idea of him wanting to take on the toughest contender. I like the fact that he also wants to go by what the UFC wants and what the fans want. He's taking everybody into consideration for this. It is important to note, though, the part about Alex Pereira, it's the UFC's fault. He's getting a little bit favorable matchups. It's not him. I don't think Alex Pereira, with every single card that he's saved, every time that he's stepped up, the guys that he's taken on, he's scared of anybody as well. So let's continue on. Ice Hawk had this to say. I would love to see Khamzat jump Strickland in a line and Sean having an absolute meltdown on Twitter, to be honest with you. I would love to see this as well. That would be very, very funny, because you know that Sean is going to just have a freak out about it. I beat Paulo Costa, but I beat Paulo Costa. I deserve this. And Khamzat's actually like steamrolling one of the greatest middleweights of all time. Let's continue on to MMA convos. If anything, I feel like Strickland should sit out and let Khamzat versus DDP happen. He can focus much more on his wrestling and the other skills within his time waiting for a shot and becoming a more improved fighter when he fights Dricus or Khamzat for the belt. Now, here's the problem with that. Sean is in his 30s. I don't know if it's necessarily a good idea to sit out and improve your skill set. If you're just waiting one fight, maybe come back in like, just ballparking it, 9-ish months, then yeah, maybe. But I think that you need to, if you're someone at the age of Sean Strickland's at the point of your career that Sean Strickland's at, I think that you need to, sorry if you just, that just came through my mic. I think that you need to get in as many bouts as you possibly can. Let's continue on to another post. Bilal and Dricus du Plessis putting their balls on the table feels rare nowadays to have a champion eager to fight dangerous contender in their own division. This is what I really, really respect about Dricus du Plessis, and I like to see even like, don't get me wrong, we have a lot of Khamzat fans that are like, oh my god, he's going to wreck Dricus du Plessis, but there are also like, to the point where there's a lot of Khamzat fans also saying, hey, respect Dricus, you're taking this fight, and it's very nice to see. I think Dricus is an incredible champion. He's doing a great job so far. He wants to take on the toughest of the tough, and I cannot help but respect and cheer for that personally. But speaking of champions, I want to know what you guys think about Ilia Topuria, and what fighters do you think actually have a chance to beat him. We talk about that in this video. I'd love to have you guys over there. Take care, everybody.